this is Jessica with Dining Traveler, and welcome to the Dining Traveler cooking series where we make dishes from our favorite destinations, and we are on location at La Isla del Encanto in Puerto Rico. Yay. And I'm with my friend Chef Erika Suarez, and she's going to teach me how to make this very delicious dish. So what are we making today?
We are making Asopao de Camarones today.
There you go.
And I'm going to add a little surprise at the end, which is not traditional. Some will say, but I'm going to add some little extra in there at the end.
We like a little extra, so let's get started. We're in the kitchen now. We're getting ready to cook. What do we do first?
So first what I'm going to do is I get my caldero nice and hot, and then I'm going to add my ingredients one by one. I'm going to start sauteing the onions, the garlic, get the really nice flavor going in there. And just keep adding things, because the good thing about making an asopao is that this is a one pot fits all. You can just add all the ingredients together and let them cook really nice, and you get a really nice full meal where you can feed anywhere from only yourself to 10 people, the whole neighborhood basically.
Like we say in Puerto Rico, donde comen uno, caben 10, where one eats, 10 eats. That's how we do it here. We love to feed people.
Exactly. So you can go from a small pot, or you can get a really nice big pot and just do as much as you want, and it's always good to save some for the next morning. Yeah,
I'm starting to get hungry.
So first I get my caldero nice and hot. I add a little bit of olive oil, and then I start with my ingredients, basically one by one. Always garlic first. And I like to put some capers. I love capers, it's like one of my favorite things to eat, so if I can add them to something, I will. Some onions, and some peppers.
I love that scent of the sofrito and the onions and how it fills up the house. I always talk about it on the videos.
And you know, one thing that I forgot, for a long time living like in the US or in other areas, is cubanel peppers. Are like a big staple here in Puerto Rico, and it's something that we don't really see in the US that much. You only get bell peppers or basically other chiles. And when I moved back here, it's something that I kind of learned again to use, because when you're cooking, it gives you that really nice extra flavor that you want when you're cooking basically Puerto Rican food or things that are more local. They're very, very special, like a different flavor. And then I'm going to add my sofrito, which I made this yesterday. Sofrito is kind of like, our adobo,
our mirepoix, I guess, for those who are familiar.
For everything that gives us the flavor that we want on all of our local dishes. It's the same thing that you have in the pot, but just a little bit more. Onions, peppers, garlic, I put a little bit of oil, a little bit of white vinegar in mine. Salt and pepper.
And yours has a reddish color. Mine is usually more of a green color. What's the difference?
That's because I add red peppers.
Okay.
I like to add morrones, pimientos morrones, to give it a slightly different flavor. And I put a little touch of sazon.
And that's what I love too, is that with sofrito, everybody has a different way of doing it. Their family recipe, and they're all delicious. They're just different.
Exactly. Yeah, like if I tell my mom what I just did, when she watches this video eventually, luckily it's in English.
Comes with subtitles.
Like, that's not my sofrito, that's not what I told you. I'm going to add my shrimp now, because what I want to do is I want to saute the shrimp a little bit, get it nice and crispy, get that flavor, and then I'm going to remove it, because I don't want the shrimp to overcook. I want to add it towards the end when we have like the rice almost ready. Then you let it boil for another maybe 5-6 minutes with the shrimp in there. So I'm going to add my shrimp. I got really nice large. These are 13-15. Seasoned with a little salt, black pepper. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of chili flakes that I like to use to just add that kick. That's just a personal preference. And then the other thing that I'm adding in here is just a little bit of chicken base. I'm going to add some tomato sauce. This is one thing that you can do. Like this time I'm using tomato sauce, but if I have like old tomatoes that I just use for something else, for a sandwich or anything that basically I have a little bit of extra, you can always use fresh tomato meat, anything that you have laying around also can go in the asopao. And like even if you don't want to add rice to your asopao, which is it's kind of a staple to have rice in your asopao, but if you don't want to, you can always add verduras to and make it more like I guess like a sancocho. a cross between a sancocho and an asopao. So I'm removing the shrimp now, like I said before, so it doesn't like overcook. Then I'm gonna continue cooking to get that asopao ready. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add my rice now, which is very important in our asopao. And I'm gonna kind of like saute that rice in there. Remember, this is a soup, so you don't want to add way too much rice in, because the rice is going to double up in size. So once it kind of like inflates, you're going to have like, maybe if you put too much rice in, it's going to end up with like almost like a jambalaya, where you have like a rice with a lot of, with some caldo. You don't want that. You want it to be a soup and the rice to be just something like that's just sitting in the bottom. And then now what I do is I'm going to do kind of like a deglaze with my shrimp stock. And this shrimp stock, basically what I do is I take the shells from the shrimp, I clean up the shrimp, anything that comes in the shrimp, the tail, the legs, the shell, and then I make a little stock with it on the side. Onions, garlic, culantro, cilantro, bay leaf, water. I boil everything together, and I like to add a little bit of bonito as well. Bonito is not traditional, but the bonito flakes they have like that smoky flavor that I really like. And that kind of adds up to that fishy flavor without being overpowering. I really like it. So it's something that I add to my asopao. That's not necessarily a traditional thing or something we do in Puerto Rico, but it's just my thing.
And for those who don't have a lot of experience like making their own stocks, it could feel a bit overwhelming, but people can do it ahead of time, right?
You can do it ahead of time, and to be honest, you cannot do it if you don't want to. You can go as simple as doing every step that I did, add water and add some sazon, add some more chicken base, and or if you can find fish base at the store, you can add that to that, because all the flavor you're getting it already in there with your sofrito, with the shrimp, with all the other ingredients. So the caldo that I made is just making it more rich in flavor, but you can also achieve that by just making it all in the pot and adding just a little bit of chicken powder. You're not gonna be less of a person if you do that. And then I'm gonna add a couple culantro leaves that I got from this really nice plant. I like to just break them and throw them in there. These are gonna add a lot of flavor. Okay, and then we're gonna bring that now to boil, and then once it starts boiling, we're gonna lower it down to a high simmer.
So now for the little extra.
A little extra, right? Like I said, I had a little mofongo that I made yesterday, and one of the things that I like to do is when I make mofongo, if I have extra, I make these little cakes, and I usually add cheese, bacon to it. It's a thing that we do at home, but this one I just let it be traditional. It has a little bit of chicharrón, onions, garlic, culantro, cilantro. So I like to just get a little bit of oil, really nice and hot, and then I just let my cake kind of get a little crunch in there.
This is a great thing to do. Sometimes with mofongo, when it's left over, because it's fried, it doesn't taste that good. So this is a great idea on how to repurpose some leftovers.
And mofongo, or basically the plantain, tends to become really dry, for the next day. And it's one reason why people sometimes don't like to eat it. But what I do is I add a little bit of either caldo, chicken stock if I have, and I made it a little bit more wet. Again, and it's becomes like a Play-Doh.
Yeah.
So, and that's how I can form these like little cakes. And because I put it here in the frying pan, I get that crunch again.
Yes.
So it's kind of crunchy on the outside, like almost like a crab cake, really nice and crunchy. And then when you cut into it, it's like nice and fluffy inside. You get, something, you give a purpose to something that has been left over.
Yes.
it. I'm gonna put it here on the side.
And how long are we letting the rice cook for?
About 20 minutes.
Okay.
Asopao, the rice, you want it to be really kind of overcooked, really nice and soft.
That's soft.
It's not like if you were eating an arroz con pollo or anything that you want that firm bite to the rice. It can actually, you want kind of, I like it when the rice kind of explodes and it becomes really nice and soft. It adds up to that, like, I don't know, hominess. When I look at it here, like it's already, I can see the grain.
Okay.
It's nice and
expanded.
All right, so for our last part, I'm just gonna go ahead and add my shrimp back in there. And I'm just gonna let it simmer for like really just a minute or two in there while I get my plate ready so we can get ready to serve. I'm gonna start putting my mofongo on the plate so we can pour the soup right over it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and put my mofongo in there in the middle because I wanna pour that really nice asopao right over it and get all that flavor in there. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna basically start serving. Make sure I get a good amount of shrimp and rice in there.
And it smells amazing.
And then what I like to do is take a couple like cilantro leaves and throw them in there. A little bit of culantro, which I have here, like this one I can just break pieces because they're gonna wilt in there, but they're still gonna give you that really nice fresh flavor. I'm gonna put one nice here for garnish. A little bit more, which is I like to take some chicharron and just kind of like microplane it over it and add a little bit of that like over. So
I have never thought of that, and this is amazing. I'm gonna do this for everything.
So you get like it's almost like you don't have to go so fancy with a microplane. If you really want to, you can just chop it or take chicharron and put it in the RoboCube or anything, or just chop it really well. And I'm telling you, it's gonna make a big difference.
Oh, I love that.
And we have a beautiful asopao de camarones with mofongo,
Qué bello.
chicharron powder.
So this is how Chef Erika makes her asopao de camarones. I make it too, but this one is way fancier. So I'm so glad that you did this for us. And it smells delicious. And I also love what you did with the presentation, because sometimes I know that Puerto Rican food is not known to be the prettiest or the best plated, but I do love these like little tips of the recao and a little bit of the mofongo just to give it that nice touch, like restaurant touch.
Yeah, well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And like I said, I mean, the best food is the food that we make at home.
Yes.
And if we can give it a little touch and, you know, put a little extra in there to make it look more fun and, you know, have fun while you're making it and make it fun looking, then go ahead. And I really enjoy making this.
Well, thank you, Erika. And if you guys are in Puerto Rico, make sure you come to Luquillo and check out Chef Erika at her new restaurant that's called C Note. So thank you so much, Erika. And guys, if you have any questions, comments, please share them. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Adios.